hot furnace will I bring. Let me in your rotted red grass, ere its deadly terrors blast. When stars lay down their spears, and watered heaven with their tears, and he smiled his word to see. He who made the lamb make thee.
Good morning everyone, hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Today we're going to be talking about a very nifty little rifle build for you guys, but before we get into that, I do want to say thank you to the sponsor of the channel currently, which is Gun Deals. Now Gun Deals, if you don't know, they don't sell anything, they merely provide you with links to the best possible prices in the industry. You can find lots of optics, lots of different guns, accessories, anything that you can think of. You can find it on there and probably find it for the best possible price. So they have been supporting me and funding some of my ammo budget, so some of the things that you see in the video is a direct result of them. So if you want to help me out, go ahead and just check out their website and see what you can find. And of course, if you want to help me out directly, you can always like, share, and subscribe and comment literally anything down below, and you will make the YouTube algorithm a little bit more happy and me a little bit more happy as well. On top of that, there's also Subscribe Star, which is basically just a pro to a Patreon. I give you some extra content, you throw me some cash every month. On top of that, there's also AR-500 steel targets, which you will see me shoot in literally every video that I make, and those are all in stock on the website currently. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about this rifle. Now, first off, I do want to say that this is not my rifle. It's actually one of your guys's. The reason for that is that we are going to be giving away this entire rifle. Now, this giveaway is brought on by Delta Team Tactical. Now, of course, they also have some of the best build kits in the industry, especially if you're on a budget, but they also sell all sorts of other parts, optics, accessories, basically anything you can think of. Now, they were the ones that actually reached out to me to do a giveaway. Basically, they just asked me if my guys might be interested in getting a free gun, and I said, of course, yes, you guys would be interested in that. So I basically got to pick out the components, and then they sent them my way to do testing and review on, and then eventually to give away to one of you guys. Now, to enter the giveaway, it's going to be very, very simple. All of that is going to be in the description. It'll be the first link in the description. Of course, we're going to be following all local and state regulations, and it's not affiliated with YouTube or Instagram in any way. Now, with all of that stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and actually talk about what it is that you guys will be getting. Now, there is a lot of parts on here, so we are going to start from the front and then work our way back. The muzzle device that we are working with, this is of course a 5.56 rifle, so this is a 1/2 by 28 muzzle device. It is basically kind of an improved A2 flash hider, though it does not do as good of a job controlling the flash. However, it does do an exceptional job of keeping that muzzle very, very flat while not driving the gun down. Now, that is very important. I've tested some muzzle devices that drive the gun down every time you pull the trigger, and that is one of the most hated things for me personally, is if a gun drives down when I don't want it to. That is very, very obnoxious. It's easier to get a gun down than bring it back up, if that makes sense. So the muzzle device, Well, you can definitely see it does throw off some fireballs with cheap Russian ammunition, but if you are firing high quality brass cased ammunition, you're going to be dealing with a lot less of that flash. The barrel. This is a government profile 16.5-inch barrel or 16-inch barrel. It is a 1 in 8 twist, 5.56 chambering. 1 in 8 is one of the best twist rates overall for basically any projectile. It's going to do a great job of stabilizing basically anything you can throw through it, unless you were going into something crazy like 90 plus grains for 223. Now this is a true government profile, so the barrel on the end is a little bit thicker than it is before the gas block. Not necessarily my favorite profile, though it does tend to be a fairly accurate profile while not being crazy heavy like a heavy barrel or something like that. It is a nitrited barrel, which is very nice, and the extension is nitrited as well, so it's fairly high quality in that regard. It is a 4150, so it is going to last you tens of thousands of rounds, provided you're not burning it down with thousands of rounds in a short period of time. Now the gas system on here is going to be a carbine length gas system. Now normally on a 16-inch gun I would prefer a mid-length gun, though what is more important than the actual gas system length is, of course, is it properly gassed? Because if you have a mid-length gun that is very, very over-gassed, you're still going to not have a very smooth recoil impulse. With the carbine length gas system, you do have a much longer dwell time, and in this case, because of course you have so much more barrel after the gas block, but in this case, even though it is a carbine length gas system, it is very, very well gassed. So you will notice in the intro, a lot of the shooting with cheaper, underpowered ammunition is ejecting at around 4:30 to 5 o'clock, which is basically towards the bottom end of where I'd want it to be ejecting for reliability. And even brass cased ammunition, some of my 62 grain reload, some of my M193 is all ejecting at around 3:30ish. Very, very good. That's basically the best point that I would want any of my ejection patterns to be at. Now with a little bit of M855, when it is perfectly clean, we'll be ejecting at like 230, right in that range, so just barely forward. But 99% of the time with most ammunitions, it's going to be ejecting 330 or later, which is absolutely excellent. It has a very, very soft recoil impulse, one of the softest recoil impulses on any AR-15 that I've shot, and that just has to do with the combination of proper gas block size, as well as everything else that's going on behind it, which we will talk about a little bit later. Now, the gas tube and the gas block, the gas tube is just stainless steel, and the gas block I believe is 4150. It's just a standard low profile gas block that is dimpled, so it's attached via dimple on the bottom. It's not pinned or anything crazy like that, but again, they do work. Now, the rail. The rail is actually one of my favorite rails, especially for a rail that doesn't cost you $200 or $300. This is actually the AIM Sports Wraith, the Gen 2. This is the 13.5-inch version. So you have true 7-sided M-lock. As you'll notice, I have an offset QD on here on the 45-degree position. So all of those sides are actually true M-lock. You also have venting and scalloped out top Picatinny rail section. So I do like having a complete top Picatinny rail section, not smoothed out like on some other upper receivers. However, this is still very, very slim and allows you to get a lot of your hand on top of the rail if you like to shoot like that, which I of course personally do. It is 13.5 inches long. Now some people, if they have a 16-inch barrel, they really need that rail to be 16 inches. For me, I like to have a little bit of barrel on the end of my rail. That way there, if I am attaching muzzle devices like something like this that is a direct thread and is very, very fat, these can be very difficult to fit around handguards, especially if they actually meet up just before or just after where the threads start on the barrel, so that can be kind of obnoxious. On top of that, on the rail, it does actually have 2 anti-rotation tabs on either side that lock into your upper receiver, so it will basically never rotate on you. There is a few degrees where it can, just because it's not a 100% tight fit, but in terms of actually like rotating off or anything like that, it just won't happen. It is also secured on the bottom via a clamping method on the barrel nut, which is very, very standard, not necessarily the best, most high-tech mounting system in the world, but it does work and it is very, very simple, very proven. It does use steel mounting hardware, and steel on the backside as well, so it's not steel into aluminum, it is steel into steel, so it does provide a very, very secure hold. Now, the rail is excellent. These can be found anywhere from like 100 to 150 bucks, and I specifically selected this upper because it had the barrel muzzle device that I wanted and also the rail that I wanted. Now, on the rail, because again, you're getting everything that's on here, not just the bare rifle, On the bottom here, we have a Strike Industries, one of their anchors or links or whatever they call it. I just wanted some sort of grip that was not too obtrusive, very lightweight. That also gave you a good reference point for your light. Speaking of the light, this is a Surefire G2X Tactical. It's 600 lumens, like 10,000 candela, something like that. Technically not a actual design to be on a weapon light, but they're basically the best budget weapon lights that you can find. They've worked very, very well. I've had 3 of these, and they're actually the oldest weapon light that I've owned. I've owned 3 of them for quite a long time, and I really, really like them. The way they work, they're just a very simple push button. Very, very simple. More than enough light to get you around your house or around your neighborhood, your block, that sort of thing. But again, they're not going to like punch out like a mod light or something like that. Now, the iron sights, because again, this does also come with iron sights. The iron sights are a J&E machine. They are flip-up metal iron sights. I believe they're mostly just aluminum, still better than polymer. They're very, very functional, and they're very, very clean with very, very positive lockup and retention. So I don't think you're going to have any sort of problems with these flopping around on you. They are basically just clones of much more expensive sights. I think these iron sights are only like 30 or 40 bucks. But again, they are iron sights, and they are very, very precise. So they do work, and they're definitely going to work in case something does happen to your optic. Now, the last thing that we have on the rail is this 45-degree offset piece. I believe this is a Northtac offset piece. They make great stuff. The sling that we're running on here, this is the Magpul MS1 sling, which has QDs in the front and back. This is how I generally always run my sling. It is also quick adjustable via this tab right here. You pull out to give yourself more length and then push it up to get tighter. Very, very strong sling. It's not necessarily my favorite sling ever, but it absolutely does work. Magpul has a great reputation, and their sling is also excellent. Now, moving back from there, the upper receiver, it is a keyhole forging, so which I believe is a Cero upper receiver, which is very, very high quality, 7075 T6, hard coat anodized aluminum, no problems whatsoever, just a standard mil-spec forged upper receiver. Now, on top of it, of course, we have our rear iron sight, and we also have our main optic setup. Now, this is the Holosun 503CU, which was reviewed last week. Basically has every feature you could ever want. It has a side-loading battery tray, 2 MOA dot, 65 MOA circle, solar panel on top for a solar failsafe if it ever goes down. It has shake awake, really not much more that you could want on it, except of course for the mount. The original mount that it came with was fairly poor, not crazy strong, didn't really hold zero under sharp recoil, like a drop or even a sharp hit or something like that would knock it off of zero. So I went ahead and I attached, this is a Reptilia lower 1/3 mount. So this is made in the USA. The mount itself is about $100. I'm doing some testing on mounts, so as long as this mount holds up fine, this will be the mount included with the rifle. However, if I test this mount out and find that it's not holding zero, I will switch it out for another mount that actually does hold zero. So right now, the giveaway is going to be with the Reptilia 1/3, but again, it might not end up that way if it doesn't actually hold up to what I want it to do. Now, if we were just to take off the upper and lower for a second and show you guys, we are running very, very standard internals. We have just a standard 7075 charging handle. Nothing special there whatsoever. On the bolt is also fairly standard. We have a very, very well nitrided bolt. It's very, very clean, even finish on it. The staking on top is incredibly substantial, so I don't think you're going to have that gas key coming loose anytime soon. We are running mil-spec everything internally. It is a 8620 bolt carrier, which is awesome. That's what it should be. And it is a Carpenter 158 bolt carrier, or actual bolt itself. The Carpenter 158 is technically mil-spec. There's arguments whether 9310 is better or worse, although under normal conditions, you're never really going to notice a difference. Now, this is MPI tested, so basically it is magnetically particle tested to see if there are any cracks or fatigue or failures. Now, if I haven't mentioned it already, there is, of course, M4 feed ramps installed in the upper receiver to allow for a little bit better feeding. I haven't talked about it yet, but we'll go ahead and talk about it now. The barrel, which is of course that 5.56 1/8 twist, 16-inch barrel, government profile. I did some very simple accuracy testing with it with just a red dot and a magnifier, and at 50 yards I was able to get, with some match loads, about 1.5 to 2 MOA, though again I'm using a 2 MOA dot to achieve those groups. So I have no doubt that you would be able to get it much closer to 1 MOA, if not 1 MOA or under, with really good ammunition and an actual optic instead of doing like a red dot. But that is just to say that the barrel is more than accurate enough for 99% of applications. Now, moving on to the lower itself, the lower is of course 7075 T6, just a very standard forged aluminum lower receiver. It does have their logo, ladies are engraved on the side, Davidson Events out of Orem, Utah. Now, in terms of the parts kit is very, very mil spec, including a carbine buffer and carbine spring. Now, originally this came with an A2 grip. I am not a big fan of A2 grips. They are very, very uncomfortable for me with my hands. So I went ahead and threw in a Magpul. This is their K2 grip, just a K2, not a K2 plus, just a K2, which gives you a much more neutral angle for your grip and is much more comfortable for trying to shoot faster or just gripping the gun in general. Now, in the back we have an adaptive tactical ES stock. I believe it does have a QD swivel point as well as places to just loop your sling through if you're one of those people that wants to just loop your sling through, which is totally fine. On the rear here you have a huge rubber butt pad, which I thought would be obnoxious, but it actually was perfectly fine. Even when shooting with a plate carrier and stuff like that, I had no problems with it whatsoever, other than the fact that it is just a little bit heavier than something like a Magpul carbine stock or something that's a little bit more small and slim. However, it does have all the features, and again, it's very, very comfy to use. Now, the wobble or the play in between the upper and lower receiver is actually fairly good. I don't know if you guys can hear that. There's a tiny bit of play, but not much. It's not like a perfectly matched upper and lower, but the tolerances are very, very tight. Now, one of the last things we need to talk about that currently is not very good is going to be this trigger. It is just a mil-spec lower parts kit, so it's very, very standard in that regard. But the trigger is very, very poor. Definitely noticeable while shooting. Definitely was one of those triggers that actually held me back in terms of speed. Now, most of the time I actually prefer just standard mil-spec 5.5, 6 pound triggers, and if people complain that, oh, it doesn't allow them to shoot fast enough, mostly it's just to do with their own personal skill, not actually the trigger. However, this trigger is exceptionally gritty. You can probably hear it. Let's see if I can get you guys to hear that. And it breaks at like 8.5, 9 pounds. Does have a very strong, very audible reset, but it has that, just that initial grit before it breaks, and it's again very, very heavy. So this will get swapped out either to a mil-spec trigger that's much better, or if I have another enhanced trigger like a hipfire or a hyperfire or a MBT or something that I have laying around, will get swapped into here so that when you pick up this rifle, it will be much, much nicer. And again, as I mentioned before, we are just running a carbine buffer, buffer tube, spring, castle nut, and end plate. So everything in here is very, very standard and mil-spec, and yet it still functions incredibly smoothly, again, because it is basically perfectly gassed. I wouldn't change it whatsoever. I would not throw in a heavier buffer. I would not even change out the carbine spring unless you just wanted something that removed some of that twang. You do get a tiny bit of that twang, but not much with this gun. Again, it is very, very properly gassed and also very, very smooth cycling, which is very nice. So you do get a little bit of that spring scraping up against the inside of your buffer tube, but other than that, it's very, very slick. And again, I've shot this for about 600-700 rounds so far. We'll probably get it up to over 1,000 by the time that this is actually given away, but very, very minimal wear and tear on the internal parts. And again, I haven't lubed it up since I got it, although they did include it with a lot of lube and stuff like that. But basically, with this rifle, what I wanted to do was I wanted to give somebody a rifle that was ready to go outside of the box. So it comes with your optics, it comes with your light, muzzle device, grip, all the ergonomics are there, as well as a sling, so that when you pick up this rifle, it is ready to rock and roll right outside of the box. You don't need to go and pick up something else to throw on it to finish out your build. Now, of course, you can change out any component that you want on here, but again, right outside the box, very, very smooth working AR-15 that is very, very comfy to shoot and has everything that you need. Now, once again, all of the rules and how to enter the giveaway is going to be linked in the description. That's going to be handled entirely by a third party so that there's no funny business going on. So it's all going to be handled by a third party. When this gun gets one, I'm basically just going to hop over to my FFL and pay them to ship it to your FFL, or if you already have your own FFL, so I can ship it to you directly. But all that being said, that is basically the build, guys. It is, again, a very, very soft shooting. I believe currently it's my second softest shooting AR, only slightly behind this one here, which is also from Delta Team Tactical, also shares that AIM Sports Wraith rail, which is, again, my favorite rail. This one here, however, is also a government profile, but it's a mid-length, and again, extremely well gassed, extremely well gassed. Sometimes this one here will have issues if you run it suppressed for a long time, then take the suppressor off and then run steel case. Because it's so gummed up on the inside, it won't necessarily want to run steel case when it's very, very gummed up. But other than that, an extremely well gassed upper receiver. This one here maybe just has 5% more. Maybe that's just due to the carbine length gas system on it versus the mid-length gas system on this rifle. But extremely soft shooting, more than accurate enough, like I said, with a real optic on it with good match ammunition. I see no reason why you wouldn't end a better trigger, of course, on here, because I did test it with the 8.5, 9-pound trigger on here. I see no reason why you would not be able to get to 1 MOA with this rifle with a 5-shot group, which is, again, pretty much perfect. It does have a light on here. You can always upgrade the light later, but again, it is enough to get you going right outside the box. So once again, this was provided to me by Delta Team Tactical. They did not pay me any money to say anything about it. They merely gave me the rifle to give away to one of you guys. So big shout out to them for doing that. Jordan and Justin over there, thank you guys a lot for getting this put together and sent out to me for testing and all that sort of fun stuff. So of course, let me know what you guys think of this rifle down below, and if there's anything that you would change on it. Now the giveaway will be running for several weeks, so you have plenty of time to get your entries in. Now again, it's not the most entries. You could have one entry and still win, so you don't need to feel like you need to complete everything to win. But again, all that is going to be linked down in the description. So thank you guys once again for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Check out some of my sponsors, some of the guys that help out the channel, and that's about it. So thank you guys once again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace off.